The solution to Africa is not China, it's not Asia, it's not Europe, it's not European Union, it's not America, it's not France, it's not Russia, it's not that. The solution to Africa is African. The solution to our issues is Africans. Whoever feeds you controls you. Africa cannot be built by them. Africa must be built by Africans. Africa cannot be protected by Russia, China, or United States or European Union. Africa must be protected by Africans. This is the journey to one Africa. Hey everybody, this is Mika and welcome back to Swahili Nation One Africa. First of all, guys, if you're new to this family, please do not hesitate to subscribe, like, or follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Mika Chavala, Swahili Nation, all of those. And also, if you want to support our family and the work we're doing, our vision is to visit all 54 countries we've always been. We have already been in 5 different countries. We still have a lot of more countries to go. Please visit the links in our description. You can join Patreon, you can become our PayPal fund, you can become our membership here on Swahili Nation, you can use Super Chat, Super Sticker, Super Thanks, all of those platforms you can use to support the work we're doing. Guys, the news about Mali. This is what, guys, I've been sharing and talking for many years, guys. This has been my concern. I came here to talk about BRICS, and this has been my main concern. Some of y'all did not understand me, but I want you guys to hear me right now. If you have seen this news, then you'll know what I'm about to talk about right now. Mali says cutting ties with the Ukraine over alleged involvement in a rebel attack. Mali has cut diplomatic relationship with the Ukraine following claims of Kyiv involvement in a deadly attack near the Algerian borders, leading to numerous casualties among Malian forces and mercenaries. I don't like these casualties. No. I don't like, it's not casualties, you know. Mali expressed deep shock over comments from Yuzov accusing Ukraine of participating in a cowardly attack that caused the death of Malian defense and security forces members. Government spokesperson Colonel Abdoulaye Maiga announced the immediate break in relationship, highlighting Ukraine's action as violating of Malian sovereignty and support for terrorism. All right, guys. Okay, I know the question that you might have. Okay, how did you know that these are Ukraine attack and all this stuff? But I want to express something, guys. For a long time, I've been sharing and I've been opposing. I'm a big fan of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger for what is happening there. But also, I've been opposing the decision of them turning back to the Russia for the support. Not only them, but I've been opposing what African countries are doing, breaking ties from one superpower and turning their eyes to another superpower. It's not about the matter of choice between A and B. If you go after China, you know there's a tension between the United States and China. So obviously, you are choosing who is going to be your friend and who is going to be your enemy. You're involved automatically. And I came here, I said multiple times, Africa will one day become a battleground for these superpowers to fight, because they'll realize that we no longer want to fight on our countries and killing our people and damaging our infrastructures, but let's go to Africa and fight there, because we don't care whether African dies or lives. That has been my concern, even with the foreign military bases in the continent. There's tens and tens of military bases in Africa. Russian, German, France, whatever, China, all of these different military bases are here in the continent. So imagine if these guys, for example, right now, there's wars everywhere. Perhaps there's a World War III is coming up. If these guys decide to fight against each other, they can actually fight on our battleground. And what's going to happen? Our kids, our families, and everything is going to be wasted here in the continent. Most of the time, the wars that we have in the continent is not really because of Africans, but it's because of someone else who is involved. And it has been the same thing with the terrorism attack that happened in the western side of Africa. Okay, we saw what happened in Libya. We know who were involved there. And now there's involvement of Ukraine in Mali simply because they're fighting against Russia. So the war is no longer happening in the Ukraine or Russia, but it's happening in the continent. Why? because we have ties with them. All right, it's okay to have ties with them, but when Africa is going to wake up and hold our hands together and stand as one African, figuring out this solution for African countries to stand by ourselves. Okay, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger have done that. They have confederation. They have that. But what about the rest of African countries? Because they cannot stand alone against all these superpowers that are out there. But these guys are turning to Russia. Why? Because ECOWAS, they did not want this guy. Why? Because African Union, they actually banned them from coming to the African Union summit that has passed a couple months ago. So what are they doing? They're turning to Russia, they're turning to other countries out there, instead of turning to their neighbors, African, and stand together to defend this continent. Guys, if there's attacks in the Western Africa, the rest of Africa is not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe. And I don't know what African we're thinking about. Only in Africa, it is a pride to have a relationship with Russia or China or United States, or for us, it's a pride. But what about them? Why all the time we need to bring them to our countries here? This is what is happening. Now it's called casualties. Our soldiers being killed by them. Casualties, collateral damage. And that's what Africa is always been about. Africa is a collateral damage. You want to try this first vaccine? Bring them to Africa. You want to try this food? Bring them to Africa. You want to try this? Bring them to Africa. Why? Because you don't care when Africa dies. By the way, they produce many Africans, so we don't care whether they die or they live. Casualties after casualties after casualties. And the sad thing is that African, we don't learn. We keep embracing this. The solution to Africa is not Brits. The solution to Africa is not Russia. It's not China. It's not America. It's not France. It's not Europe, European Union. The solution to Africa is Africans. Let me say this again. The solution to Africa is not China, it's not Asia, it's not Europe, it's not European Union, it's not America, it's not France, it's not Russia. It's not that. The solution to Africa is African. The solution to our issues is Africans. Whoever feeds you controls you. Africa cannot be built by them. Africa must be built by Africans. Africa cannot be protected by Russia, China, or United States or European Union. Africa must be protected by Africans. First and foremost, our relationships as Africans, it should be stronger than any other relationship out there. Our African Union must be stronger than any other unions out there. The first supporter of African Union should be African countries and not European Union. The first supporters of ECOWAS, EAC should be African countries and not other countries out there, because they're the ones who are going to decide what they want to happen in Africa and what they don't want to happen in Africa. We've been seeing that for a long time, and we yet don't realize that we are still slaves to the system of this world, to the same system that colonized Africa. Is still alive and well today, is working in Africa, and we're sitting here just welcoming them. Who told you that these people are not going to change anytime soon? Whether it's Russia, whether it's China, I don't believe none of them. I choose to believe in Africa. I choose to believe in African people. I choose to trust them. I choose to work on my continent to change this continent for the sake of the next generation. Not even for me, but for my children and the next generation, guys. Africa, if we're not going to realize this and wake up as soon as possible, we're going to realize a lot of people are being killed in Africa, not because Africans are fighting, but because they're sending their military and their wars in Africa. This is going to be a war of a battleground, the battleground for the proxy wars that are happening outside of this continent. They're going to end here in Africa. It's just a matter of time. It has already started. More than 20-something soldiers have been killed in the borders near Mali and Algerian borders. Why? Because of the attacks of the Ukraine and everything. Now they deny, but those rebel groups, they're holding the flag of Ukraine. And where did they get that flag? Who is supporting it? Now Kyiv, there's speculation that Kyiv is supporting that. Whether you deny or whether you agree. But the problem is not even about that. The problem is us Africans constantly finding the next savior. These people ain't gonna be our saviors. You cannot replace one master and another master and expect your country to be okay. No, guys, no. It's a time for Africa to wake up. The young people of Africans have already waking up. You see, the movement of Gen Z all across the continent, man, have already woken up and trying to bring change in the continent. It's a time for the leaders to tap into that momentum and to actually act as soon as possible. Bring together, call the emergency meeting where African Union sit down and discuss how are we going to unite our continent and be one to stand as one to fight this wickedness that is happening in the country. When Africa decides that, that's when we'll begin to call the shots and not otherwise. The way we are right now, we're not calling the shots. Nobody respects us. Nobody cares about us. Nobody's going to pay attention to Africa. Why? Because you're not calling shots. Why? Because we are being controlled. Why? Because we are colonized. If we want to get back to our control seat, if we want to get back on our leadership, if we want to get back to our superpower, because the history tells us otherwise, that we used to be a superpower. Axum Empire used to be one of the superpowers in the world, alongside with China Empire. If we're not going to realize that and make decision as soon as possible, I am concerned that we're going to see many deaths in Africa. And not because we are fighting against each other, because somebody else has interest and they want to protect them and they don't care who they kill. I've seen a video yesterday of this one black man being attacked by a group of white men in Manchester, UK, in the broad light, and there's a police there, but this man has been attacked and beaten. This is what happened to Africans away from the continent. But now, even in our continent, some crazy people have a destiny to come and to kill our soldiers. And it's not even our war. You do the math. What is happening? You do the math. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm done with this news.